What's going on, everybody? Back just in time for live. Hope everybody's doing well on this Tuesday. Oh, it's been a busy one. So I was away from here. So I just barely made it back for live. I'm very happy to be here. And we still have kind of an ugly slate, as I predicted earlier in the video, in case you watched. We did get the Heat news. I am going to right now adjust my core plays and make Bam a core play because I think it's the right thing to do. I have Bam a little bit ahead of Hero for that tag. I think Lowry's an interesting other one, but I do like Bam quite a bit now. And the guy who I'm really considering trying to use here is Haywood Highsmith. Um, on the back-to-back, he's been playing the minutes. His production per minute has been good. He sort of offers the Heat a little bit of something different with the fact that he's versatile. He's all over the place. He'll go out there and rebound. He's sort of slashing. He's got a good steal blocks guy and again a good steal blocks matchup. And I think there is upside in the minutes, and I think there's always an outside chance for the blowout, which he could get that run as well for a team that's already a little bit shorthanded. I guess you could make a similar argument for Jovic. And the scary part is, well, Oladipo probably will play tonight, right? Maybe on FanDuel at 3,500 is where you play him because he's minimum. I think that's a very, I don't expect Oladipo to play a ton of minutes tonight. But having said that, even in short minutes in a slate we're trying to get weird on anyway, if he played 20 minutes, would we give him a shot? I think at 3.5K we would on FanDuel. I don't think we would on DraftKings at 4,800. But I do think that's firmly in play. My other builds are very similar to my early build. Really like, priorities, Tim Hardaway. Why is Tim Hardaway Jr. not on my priority list? Something happened in my list here. They sort of took out off all my core guys here. So I'm trying to update that as we go. Let's do this. Yes. Okay, there we go. Where's my rest of my core? Oh, it's weird. It took away the rest of my guys. I'm not really sure why it did that. So I'll go back through there and do it. But Hardaway Jr., I do like Schroeder a lot tonight. He's been getting the minutes, and we just need a little more usage here in a tough matchup. I love LeBron personally, especially on DK. He's a little cheaper than the other superstars, and going back to Cleveland is enough to sell me. Donovan Mitchell is my favorite other spend up. And of course, I'm not going to argue if anybody out there wants to play Luka or Jokic or both together. I think those are better plays together on FanDuel than they are on DraftKings, but I still think that they're strongly should be considered. Other guys to consider: Max Struss, Aaron Gordon, guys who may be not quite as high owned. Bruce Brown, all those guys are sort of falling a little bit by the wayside for me tonight. I do like the spend downs of Duran, the really cheapos of Duran and Highsmith as my favorites as of right now. And I do like, that's pretty much I think those would be my two favorites at the moment of the full spend downs. But Hardaway and Schroeder as the semi spend downs are pretty obvious ones. And I think that they make a lot of sense. So that's what I'm doing. I just updated my cores. If you want to check that out on the site, on SaberSim, through TrueDFS, go ahead and do that. I've got up to 7 guys now as the guys who I would use, and some of those guys will be in all of my lineups combined. I don't know which one's which. I also like Jamal Murray as a potentially low owned play today, especially with the ownership that we're going to get from Hero. I think it's an interesting pivot to talk about Jamal Murray. And look, we're trying to find things that are different. It's also a later game with a team on a back-to-back. And if you get that weird guy out late, it could be something going on there. So drop your questions, drop your thoughts on in. Those are sort of my main plays here that I just went through. It's a very small slate, so I don't expect we'll need all the time, but I'm very happy to answer any question and go over anything you guys have. As I think it's a small slate, but it really gives you the opportunity just to take a really, really weird play and you know what I mean, and go with it. I just don't have that many that I love. I mentioned the Highsmith and the Duran thing. I think the projections are a little high on Kyle Lowry, but I still think he's an interesting play. And I'm just siding with Bam a little bit over Hero and Lowry as the main guy there. I think that front line for Detroit is the reason why. And I love Kevin Love if people aren't going to play him. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people will play him, but those are the guys who I've got as sort of my sort of others. And Jaden Ivey belongs in that category as well. A little better of a matchup now with no Butler, but not a guy I'm prioritizing, just guys who I'm trying to get a little different with. Love or Struss on DK. So everything would tell you to play Struss over Love statistically and projection wise. I think you're going to get lower ownership on Love. So I think I might go ahead and say Love. they're both, they're, I don't want to say Love is shooting reliant because he sort of puts up fantasy points most of the time anyway. Struss really is shooting reliant. He's not going to go out there and get you, more than a couple assists. He's not going to go out there and get you 5 or 6 rebounds. That's probably about as high as he goes against his high of the year, six rebounds. Occasionally you get a couple steals. That's what you got out of him, but you're really counting on him shooting the ball well. So I think I might actually give some love to the lower owned Kevin Love, and that might be the way that I go there. Now I know with Allen back as well, it doesn't seem quite as good. I think all three could play together tonight, and I think it's more likely one of Allen, Mobley, either in foul trouble or just simply for the fact that you want to get Kevin Love 20-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more. I think that's kind of interesting, just to give Love a shot here. So I'm going with Love based on ownership. But even though I prefer if the rest of your lineup is not chalky, I think Struss is the safer play. Okay, so I like this question from Leland. This is clearly a game log question. Now, I'll tell you what, I've been on this Josh Green thing for years. I've never understood why he wasn't better. I didn't understand why they weren't giving him minutes. Well, he's getting minutes now. And, last night it was really productive with him. Of course, you see he has to shoot the ball really well in order for that to be the case because he doesn't do a whole lot else on the court. He can get some assists, though, from time to time. And I was hoping somebody would be out on a back-to-back so I could play him. I think what would still be low ownership. But I think, yes, absolutely you include him in the with Highsmith and Duran as the guys to get a little bit weird with. Don't be surprised if you get 5 fantasy points, but don't be surprised if you get 25. He can definitely do that. And I do think Josh Green is definitely in play, especially on this slate. I think he's going to get looked over. So the Dinwiddie question, I had Dinwiddie in my first mock lineup. I've changed that because I wanted to get Bam in the lineup. But I think Dinwiddie is an interesting large field play. The more I think about it, I think Christian Wood is probably a better play. But I was very drawn to Dinwiddie's low ownership. So that was really the reason I was considering Dinwiddie here and hoping that, they let him have some run with Wood in the second unit and they can sort of take advantage of Denver that way. I do expect Denver to trap Luka a lot, and I expect Dallas to trap Jokic a lot. So I was sort of looking for other guys in their team, and he's definitely in the mix, but I don't like him as much as I did earlier in the day. Highsmith and Bam together, I have no problem with it whatsoever. I don't think that they don't rotate minutes. They both can play minutes at in the same time. I mean, you see yesterday, Bam played 38. Highsmith, I believe, he only played 14 yesterday. Was in the mid 20s in most of the games before that, but they'll be on the court at the same time enough to where I think that's totally fine. They were on the court for 18 minutes together, I believe, the game before last. So I have no problem with Highsmith in the same thing. And remember, I'm not saying when I sit here and say Highsmith, this is not like the cash you got to play Highsmith play. This is the how do we get different with the other funny plays. Highsmith, Josh Green, as you just mentioned, and Duran probably being my favorite ways of getting there. Let's see what else we got. Those are all the same questions. Keep popping them on in there, guys. I like these questions so far. They make a lot of sense to me. Now, can you double spend down and try to play like a blowout angle of a game? I think Denver is the best category for that. Maybe you could play like a Bones. You're not spending all the way down, of course, for Bones. Am I missing something? I got Bones way down here. No, I don't know what's going on with the Bones projections in the minutes lately. I know that he had coming back from the injury. I got to figure that one out. But if you want to play a blowout angle, like something like a Bones, even like, I don't think Ish Smith is quite there because he's probably not going to get the same run tonight. But Bones with Green on the other side or something like that, or maybe Jeff Green with that on the other side. I don't know if Jeff Green's even available tonight. I don't know. That's a really tough one. I think that I'm trying to find that way to double spend down and get weird with it. It's just hard to do. Also, keep in mind we don't have an official word. At least I don't yet on Kemba tonight, and Kemba may be available to play tonight. And on a back-to-back, this seems like the time they would use him. Now, I'm not suggesting to play Kemba at 4K, especially if he was 3K, maybe we could have a conversation. But it does cut into the Josh Green love if nobody else gets announced out in that game. My voice is better, but as you can see, still trying to uptake the liquids as much as I can. I'm trying to catch up with the little flu that got me for a while. But again, priorities: LeBron for me, Mitchell, Schroeder, Hardaway. Then you can sort of do a bunch of different things. But I like Bam, I like Love, I like Highsmith as a long shot play. I like the Green idea. I like the Jalen Duran when no one's really expecting that play. Those are the guys who I'm getting, quote unquote, weird with it. There is one other guy probably worth mentioning, and that's Westbrook. First of all, his plus minus number is still pretty good for the Lakers. Will occasionally get that high usage game, even with LeBron there, put up 41 a couple times back. So he's another get weird one, but I think I prefer Jamal Murray if I'm gonna spend that much and not play Hero. I do like Hero for what it's worth, but I'm not going to play a 40% owned guy on a back-to-back who's a jump shooter after travel and the fact that it's a game they could run away with probably without him. Not to say they will, because Miami certainly hasn't been a lock of any kind lately. But that's where I'm at for right now. So I'm still sort of waiting to figure out what to do. And yeah, that's where I'm at. It's hoping for some more news so my lineup looks a little better than it does at the moment, which is a little grim at the moment, to be honest with you. I've got a lot of weird plays that I don't know how to really feel about. But I'm trying to get weird with it. It's a small slate. Another guy you can use for if you want to play the Cleveland blowout angle, which I don't think they're going to blow out the Lakers tonight, but they could. And the guy there would be Caris LeVert at no ownership instead of Kevin Love, possibly. Maybe that's another thing you could do. And that's the name of these things, right? You make one or two of those get weird plays and you give yourself a chance. And that's what I'm really trying to do tonight with these weird plays, with the Highsmiths, with the Jamal Murrays, the Kevin Loves. You hopefully you get those guys. You get the Kevin Love 40 fantasy points in 24 minutes game or something like that. You hope for the Highsmith 30 fantasy point game, which is he's done. We can see it. 28 would be great as well. 26 would be great. Jamal Murray could put up 45 or so here, especially if they do double Jokic, which I expect them to do quite a bit. Caleb Martin is a better play on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, not just because his price is cheaper, but because he can get you steals and blocks as well. Very low usage guy in general. Not my favorite guy to play. And I think he's totally in play, but without Jimmy Butler, without Bam and Hero, he didn't even get there for this price, like multiple times. He got there one time out of, I think, 5 games at this price. So if you're playing Caleb Martin, I certainly wouldn't expect that to be what puts you over the top. You're sort of playing him just, hoping he gets to 30 or something like that. But yeah, he's completely in play. I'm just not playing him personally. The Lakers do play fast, and I don't know what is there a follow up to that one, Leland? Because the Lakers absolutely do play fast. More than playing fast, they play bad defense. But Cleveland also plays one of the slowest paces in the league, and is one of the best defensive teams in the league. However, they don't have the exact natural matchup for LeBron. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if they put Mobley on him. My guess is you'll see Lamar Stevens on him a little bit, but I think you're going to see some Mobley as well, and it's going to kind of an interesting matchup just from a basketball standpoint. But yeah, let me know, Leland, what your follow up is with the Lakers playing at the fastest pace. They do. I don't know. That's why I've got 2 Cavs on most of my teams, and Love, Allen. Obviously Mitchell being my favorite. Garland would be the next one for me. And then you get into the weird, maybe we can take a shot with Caris LeVert in the blowout stage. Yeah, it does. It justified the LeVert play. The problem with the LeVert play is that if this game is close, he's probably not closing. It's very unlikely. Gordon versus Brown. Excellent question, Joe. As of right now, I have it as Gordon, but I will say that every projection system I expect to disagree with me on that. I do like Brown for what it's worth. I think the ownership on Gordon should be significantly lower than Brown, and it's not showing up as much lower as I thought. But I do think this is Aaron Gordon in the front court. They have rebounding issues in Dallas. If they're double teaming Jokic too, you have Gordon. I just think there's some ways that Gordon could have a better effect, but I have those guys ranked almost exactly the same, with Gordon with a tiny bit of an edge. And honestly, even just the $200 is part of the reason, sadly enough. But Bruce Brown is often going to be the right answer. And I just thought Gordon with a lower ownership, and I do think he ends up lower owned than Brown does for what it's worth. But both very good plays for sure. Brown, yeah, look, this is not me you're not gonna find me saying bad words about Bruce Brown. I'm very impressed with him. I like what he's done. The minutes are good. He's as you mentioned, he's been efficient. He can do it all in a mixture of ways. His ceiling goes away a little bit with Jokic and all these guys playing and Murray and everything because the assists are not going to be there as much. But he could still have an outlier rebounding game. We've seen it a number of times this year. I believe he's got 3 games over double digits rebounding wise. He can also score and play every position for you. He's going to play a ton of minutes, which you got to like. Not his kind of a matchup because it's kind of more slow paced. I also think he's going to end up with some Luka coverage. That's never fun. That's also does lead into foul trouble. So for all those reasons, I think it's a tiny edge for me for Gordon, but I like both. And I think you could play those two together even. That's fine. Bob Marley's question about Duran and Highsmith. I think it's a reach, which is exactly why I like it if it's a big field tournament. Because that is not a build other people are getting to is, hey, let's play Duran and Highsmith. For that reason, I like it. Now, would I say to expect much from it? No. But what you're doing is you're getting different with your build. And if you get, if those guys combine even for 45, you're going to have a different build than everybody else, especially if the other, quote unquote cheap value, which really there isn't that much of, doesn't get there. Those guys could easily be, help lead their way to victory just by scratching 20 plus fantasy points each. And that's definitely on the table. So I think that's actually a really good play, especially for large field. For smaller field or single entry, probably not ideal, but I do think that is a really good large field play. So I'm on board with that, Bob Marley. What else do we got here before I get out of here? I'm probably going to go in just a couple minutes, unless there's more questions that come in. And unless we get more information, because it's the only real thing that's holding us back right now is if we get anybody else out and starting lineups and all that. I don't think they're going to do anything weird in Miami, but you never know. And you never know with teams like Detroit. They tend to mix things around a little bit, but mostly the guys that are projected tonight, I think that you can feel pretty safe are going to be in the starting lineup. All right. No problem, my man. Appreciate all you guys. Please give us the like before you get out of here on the video. We really appreciate it. We got Sheets coming back tomorrow. We're going to have golf and football and all that stuff, and it's going to be a good old time. We also are going to have a big basketball slate tomorrow, which should also be a really good time. So appreciate all you guys. Jump on into the Discord, and we'll be there all night. And I'm going to leave you here and say good luck, everybody. Let's get them.